The other day I was talking about all the local elections that are going on and how I'm puzzled by the local signs, because underneath every picture of a candidate there is a number and the letter X. And they're all different. So one candidate for some reason has a big number 1 and an X, like 1X. The other one might be 10X or 18X. So I was wondering what those numbers could mean. I still haven't been able to find out. But interestingly enough, the manager of my guest house, he appears to be involved in the election. Either he's working just as a government employee, an organizer of the elections, or he's working on behalf of one of the candidates, I'm not sure. But I noticed that he was always sitting down at the dining room table at the guest house, and he was going over long lists in notebooks, marking them, counting them, organizing them, and he's been doing that for days, and I've been curious what he was up to. So I finally asked him, and that's when he told me that he was involved in the local election. And that also explained why he's been away so much. I really haven't seen him at the guest house at all. He disappears in the morning and I don't see him all day, and that's because he's out working for the election. Though he isn't today. This is a funny story. I was just sitting down this morning with my phone and my keyboard and a cup of coffee, just getting organized for the day, and he came up to me and said, would I like to go to a wedding celebration? He invited me to his friend's wedding, which apparently is taking place in a village quite far away. And I had mixed reactions to that invitation. On the one hand, of course, you want to say, oh, absolutely, that would be a very interesting experience to attend a local wedding celebration. It would be an interesting day. I'm sure these people don't know me at all, of course, but I would probably be treated as something of a guest of honor. So I wanted to say, yeah, I'd love to come to this wedding, and I could have gone with him today. But, of course, I already had plans for today, and he was leaving that very minute. He gave me the invitation at the exact minute that he was leaving to go to the wedding. So if I wanted to go with him, accept his invitation, I basically would have had to just hopped on my scooter and gone with him at that exact minute. And I wasn't really prepared to go, physically or mentally. I mean, I would need, I don't know, give me half an hour or an hour to sort of get ready, to change my clothes and take a shower or do whatever it is I needed to do to get ready to go with him. And even if I could physically have done it, I wasn't mentally prepared to spend a day at a wedding of people that I don't know. I've done similar things in the past, because as a foreigner overseas, you do get invited to a lot of things, and they're always interesting experiences. But at the same time, as they can be enjoyable, they can also be a bit tiring. You generally don't know what's going on, you don't know where you're going, you don't understand the situation, and you don't know how long you're going to be there. All this kind of information is rather hard to come by. So I find, for me to accept an invitation like that, I need at least a day warning. You know, I need at least a day to prepare mentally and physically for this experience, to be able to enjoy it and to be fully present, you know what I mean? I was writing an email to a friend of mine this morning, and I talked about that a little bit, how when you're overseas, you are often at the receiving end of a lot of very kind invitations, a lot of gestures of help, but because of perhaps the difference in cultures, then maybe language barrier or some other issues, quite often these invitations and kind offers, are not quite packaged in the way you'd like. A funny example is that every morning here at the guest house, I make myself a cup of instant coffee using the kettle in the kitchen there, in the dining area. And the woman who works at the guest house, she's noticed my habit, and she has made it her job to refill the kettle for me. So every time she sees me settling down for a morning coffee routine, she rushes over to the kettle and fills it to the top. And she's doing this as a kind gesture to help me. But the end result is it actually makes my life more complicated, because it's a big kettle and I don't need that much water. I only need enough for 1 cup of coffee. So I would normally just fill it up a little bit, a little bit above the minimum fill point, and then the water boils in 2 or 3 minutes. But because she fills this kettle all the way to the top every time, it can take like 10 minutes for this kettle to come to a boil. Plus, she fills it so far, like all the way to the top, that she's overfilled it, and when the kettle starts to boil, the water goes spraying out of the spout and sprays boiling water all over the place, which makes a big mess that I end up having to clean up. And it's kind of dangerous, because if I don't realize it, I could be standing there waiting for it to boil, and suddenly there's this geyser of boiling water flying across the room. So you always have this funny situation where someone tries to do something very nice for you, a kind gesture, but it ends up actually having the opposite effect. Instead of making my life better, it actually makes my life a little bit more challenging in the moment. And that's a very common situation, I find, when I'm overseas.